Creative Moment, Season 10, Episode 1. We are on the countdown to Episode 100, as I was just relayed the information, since I always get it mixed up if we're on Episode 190 or whatever. But Season 10, Episode 1, the premiere of our 10th season, and we're still your hosts, Jamie Bohauer, Dante Bohauer. I'm a photographer, videographer. He's a writer, a poet. We go by many hats.
Yeah.
So today we're talking about control, and we have a lack of control in our studio space today. That's 100% my fault. So let's go ahead and get into it. Partially Delta Airlines ish. Anyway.
Yeah, we're just actually getting a taste of what we can control. And
I found out what I couldn't control this entire week when I thought I would be on a flight right now. So, anyway, we are talking about kind of the aspects of control within the creative industry. So, there are things that we can't control, viewer consumption, selling points, things like that. There are things we can control, the creation of the art, the distribution, things like that. So that's kind of our topic today for the first episode of Season 10.
Yeah. So actually, well, let's start with the really deep one, because part of the topic was, and I couldn't find it again, it was, the curse of social media. You scroll and it's gone, like it's, but it was a writer that I didn't actually recognize, but I don't read all the books. And he was talking about how meaning actually comes from the reader. And he talked about there's things I want to do, but I have no control over what their history is when they come to read it, what they like, dislike, components along that line. It's like I do something, there's some things I want to do, but okay, how do you say this? Any art, its meaning is not in the artist's control, it is in the consumer basically, or the reader, the viewer, whatever, that they're the ones that infuse the meaning for themselves of the art. And that just kind of got me just like, okay. Because I've always talked about how I write for the audience. Like I'm trying to get a point across, and I can control that. I control the similes, the metaphors, the poetic form, the blog, all that. But yet, at the end of the day, I don't actually control how they see it, what they bring to the table, why they connect, or their history. And so it was really interesting to actually think about that there is meaning to my work that I don't even know about, technically, and that I actually have no control over.
Yeah, so when you sent me that text, it kind of got me thinking of just kind of that overall theme, and it struck me because when I'm thinking of, like, I always bring up like my photos from Yellowstone, the photo of like the Grand Teton Mountains or whatever, that hits me in a way where I think back to the moment that I was there. I have no idea who has seen that photo and has thought, when they were there and the emotions, what maybe it was after the loss of a family member or their wedding day or whatever, what photo or like what emotion that photo of those mountains brings to them. And so it might be a sad photo to look at for some people, it might be a happy photo for some people to look at. And I kind of went back and forth because I think it's the artist's job to tell a good story through their work, but there are so many, obviously just being a human being, there's so many variables that come into play when consuming art that make you feel maybe a different emotion than what the artist had intended. And so it's just really an interesting thing to think about, because when I look at the photo of the Tetons, I think about when I was there and the big sky and all this stuff, like just kind of this Western hype feel, whatever. And some people could be thinking totally other things. And I have no idea, even though I tried to evoke the emotion that I was feeling through that photo. It's ultimately not up to me if people actually that emotion is evoked through their consumption of that photo.
Yeah, and then you throw, thinking about some of your sports photos and things, and we talked about capturing the other side, but as time passes too, like that story that you tell, and one of the, I know we mentioned it before, but the thing is Aurora, the quarterback, it's all black sky above and back, but when he's 32, will you look at that photo and actually, we're going like, wow, what a season. Like
I do that now.
Yeah, well, I know. It's
Still
like
mad about it. I think back more positively on the photos from the championship than I was like, oh wow, look at my teammates, look cool. But
well, so time, you throw that in there, and we can't the story is still there. I think the story that you share in that photo is kind of universal. But you don't have, as time passes, it's kind of crazy how chaotic art in meaning can be once it's released, once you've released it.
Yeah, I mean, my kind of immediate thought was the Grand Island documentary. So I can't control that story for the most part. I can't control the events that happen. I can control kind of how it's framed, but those kids or coaches or whatever looking back on it after the season probably are, I don't know, disheartened by it at the end because it just didn't go. The season didn't go well. Whatever.
That was a tough season.
Yeah.
It was a tough season for him.
And Coach Reed, whatever, probably thinks about that and just it brings up negative memories. But in 10 years, 20 years, will he look back at that documentary and say, it wasn't a great season, but think about all the good parts of the season and the fun relationships that he built and experiences that he had and that stuff. Same documentary, same storyline, whatever, but will he change his thoughts on what those emotions bring him watching that 10 years down the line, 20 years down the line versus kind of what they would be now?
Yeah. I don't know, it's just such an interesting, and sometimes when you just hear something from somebody else, it's like, I hadn't thought of that. For what really kind of got me was that he was just not that, I don't know, concerned, I guess, or just was okay, I can't control it. I can control the writing of my book. I can control what I'm trying to do, but after that, I'm just, and Rick Rubin talks about that in regards to success a lot. And sometimes I do get annoyed at successful people telling us that, but I get
work hard.
Yeah, or just you have no, and it's to a degree it is his main point is always create the art that is coming from you. Don't try to write a hit song or whatever, and just let the art, be, and because he's right, you can't control what is going to be successful. You can't control what's going, to be liked on social media or, in my case, sell books or things like that. And it's hard though. That is hard on my end, I guess, to a degree. It is hard to kind of let go of that control or the idea. I don't even have control. I recognize that I don't, but you work so hard to do those things. On the summer of all the library trips and all that stuff, and I just work and I'm just supposed to let the art be. It's a hard pill to swallow.
So this is where I kind of go back and forth because you can't control the audience's feedback or whatever. You can't control what the art does after you kind of publish it. But at what point, is there a tipping point between I'm just going to create my art, I'm just going to do me, versus lean into what the audience receives better or whatever and do less of what they don't receive? There are some seniors or whatever that like photos being edited a little different than what I do, but they still hire me, whatever. And they're like, hey, can you do something that's not really my identity or my brand or whatever? At what point do I lean into what, for example, I guess girls, seniors like photos edited, typically not in the general way that I edit them because it's a little too bold, punchy, whatever. It's much more kind of sports, male oriented. So at what point do I say, okay, if I want to lean more into the girl senior market, do I lean away from my brand, my identity, because it's successful for them? So it's still kind of my art, but it's my art catering to a different audience. It's not really me. I'm kind of taking control of something that I couldn't control in that sense with the editing process. Like, is there a line to be towed with that?
Because you have paying customers, so that's a really kind of, to a degree in that regard, you're like, they are hiring you for what you do, but like they said, they would like, a softer, so I don't know,
light and airy.
Light and airy type of thing. So as an artist versus as a businessman, I think would actually be your line in that regard. But then it is, you give away a little bit of control in the sense of what you say you stand for as an artist, but then as a businessman, this is your livelihood. It's actually a little bit harder when you delve into that idea a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's there's a lot of things I can't control with the business side too. It's just like being a business creative is very difficult. But yeah, I mean, like my best clients just kind of let me control everything from creation to post and whatever and all that stuff. That part that you can't control, I mean, I don't really know how to frame it. Like, where would be a line? So say you put out 5 books in a year or whatever, and one does really well, but it was kind of one where you didn't feel as confident about, or you kind of veered away from like your identity, so to speak, as an artist, but that one does really well. Do you pivot just based on that success and take control of kind of the audience consumption of this theme or whatever, like whatever you put into that book that faltered, or you just create art to create art and hope that
now with the book, I deal with that in social media and poetry to a degree, in the sense of all these poems that get a ton of traction that I typically feel are not great pieces of art. Let's put it that way. Very just shout, that like there's hardly any literary elements involved. It's just, but boy, oh my gosh, this is so great. It just, and then here I am working on a classic 17th century poetic form, trying to build these bridges with metaphors and imagery and dealing with a syllable count and a rhyme scheme that has the third line rhyming with the middle of the fourth, and it was like, nobody even appreciated, and so it's just like, what would happen if I just journal poetry, what I sometimes call journal poetry, what if I just spewed but I at the end of the day, I guess what ends up happening is the artist in me comes out. The artist, it just, even though I've tried, I just like, because I've learned or have trusted letting the muse, letting the inspiration, letting that gut instinct just go with it, and just just kind of swallow my pride a little bit, or not pride, just like, okay, but I know that I create, this is a damn good poem, I don't think many people could write this under the constraints of all the rules and everything and come and present something that is modern in theme but classic in form. So I end up just letting them use. I let the artist out.
Yeah.
I am being honest. It frustrates me so much in that regard. But yet, then it's also, as we talked about the role of art and the historical component and also the deep truths of the last episode, I don't know who has read, and stuff like that. And I guess I have to trust the chaos of not knowing what's going to happen with the art once it's out in the world, and just let that be. And it's hard though, because we like to control things. Like,
I'm a control freak.
Yeah,
I am very, I need to have my hand in every bucket and be able
because it kind of makes things smooth. And I feel under control, and I know as a dad, growing up and always had the snacks packed, and it makes things go smoothly. But in the art world, there's only so much we can control, and you have to live with.
You fall very more into the I don't care about the audience, not being able to control that. I can tap into that for my travel films or whatever, because that is more just kind of creative for me or whatever. I really care about the audience, like I do a lot of just kind of, and again, this is partly business but partly creative, what the audience thinks of this set of photos or this video, this documentary, whatever. And it keeps me up at night sometimes when I don't have a feedback response from an email delivery or something, because I just would like to at least know, so that I can, if they don't like it, I can at least control, I can revise it and try and send something else or whatever. And that just is something that I struggle with on the creative side. And I feel like the more I worry about it, the less creative I become with my art. I'm just just do the technically right thing or the basic thing. Don't go outside and try this new transition or try this new whatever. Just do something basic that you'll know they'll at least be okay with. And I feel like that hampers me into tapping into my creativity a lot, especially with high, low turnaround times with NSA videos. I'm I want to try this, just get it out. Just do the basic thing that you'll know they'll be oh, that's kind of cool, instead of trying the super crazy whatever thing, because I am trying to control their reaction or their feedback a little bit.
Yeah, but I think tends though then to be a double-edged sword, because even listening as you talk about, they're okay, yeah, it's a hype video, but it's kind of okay. And you have a little bit of reputation of doing things a little bit just have that different thing to it, but yet you can't, once you risk it, the poem I wrote for the battle poem this week on X community, it's actually just one sentence. It's one sentence. It's 12 lines long, but it's and I'm okay, who knows? But I'm just this is how the artist came out, and I have to, probably won't make, but it's it's kind of cool. I just okay, it's still though hard, because every artist wants to know that their work is appreciated. But again, I know people who hate Stephen King, and they're usually colleagues who we'd fight about, well, not fight, just, she's he's a hack. He's just, and I'm are we reading this thing? But it reminds me that he makes millions of dollars, sells a lot of books, but there are people who just thinks he's a hack, and it's yeah, okay, can't control it, can't control once it's gone.
Yeah. I mean, it also, where I like the control factor, I also understand there's a lot of people that don't like my art that I'll never hear from. And that, I feel I have that specific part, have gotten better about. That over the years, my, like, just to bring back the girl senior number, like the quantity has gone down mostly every year. That's like, I don't really worry about that as much anymore. It's just, that's a different market. They like, not that they don't think they don't like my photos or think my photos are bad, but that's not my just successful audience at the moment. And so I feel like I've gotten better about not worrying so much about kind of the unheard non-controllable factors of like, okay, they hired this other Hastings photographer, they hired this person when I think I'm better than them, whatever. That doesn't bother me as much anymore, because at the end of the day, no matter how much I pitch them or try and give them a discount or whatever, I can't control ultimately what they like, don't like, who they want to hire, that sort of thing.
Yeah. And they want, it's such a big, the senior photo thing or the, hype videos or intro videos and stuff. It's one of those cases, that's another hard part of your customer, and then to a degree mine. I don't, know what they envision. You can hear them, but sometimes they can't.
They can rarely articulate
on a creative level so that you understand. They just got this image in their head or in their heart or whatever, and they don't have the vocabulary to totally express it. And I know you've had cut okay, well, if you'd have told me that the first time, we would have had this done right the first time, which is also a hint of wanting control, because tell me and I will do.
Well, sometimes clients even just want the control of revising you.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, you want this random change is arbitrary, this random change is arbitrary. And it's like, okay, you just want to tell me this is not good enough so that you feel like you had a hand in creating this or something like that. And I was like, okay, whatever. Okay. If you would have just said you wanted this block text instead of the script, I would have been able to do it.
Yeah.
Whatever. But no.
Because part of control indicates ownership. And in your world, you get that a little bit because this poster or what I want to do is my idea. We, want to do that, whatever. Even though they didn't create it.
It was their idea, and you're just the person with the camera.
Yeah, you're the two, and so they get to, you know what I'm saying? And so I think that as artists, I'm just talking now, it's that's why control is such a thing. It is art. I did create this. I would like it to stay mine. I don't know, not mine, just have that control once it gets out into the world, but it just...
Well, and that's part of the reason that I enjoy being a self-employed creative, is because it's not this company that I work for is graphic. It's not the Husker football graphic is mine. And so I get to have that control, or just the ownership and the pride of, hey, I created this, and if everyone's going to celebrate it, okay, cool, they know it's me, not Husker football or whatever. On the flip side, you do have the other side where, okay, I screwed up. People didn't like this. Yeah, they can't blame Husker football or whatever. They can blame me.
Yeah.
And that, it's a dual-edged sword. It does create just kind of the chaos and the anxiety of just deliveries or posting on social media, because you truly don't know. You can get feedback from 10 different people, but you don't know until you release it to the masses what the masses are going to generally think about your art or feel or get an emotion out of your art.
It's actually now scarier as I think about it to write it, oh my gosh. Okay, I thought I'd feel better by the end of this episode talking about that, but now I'm just alright, yeah.
Don't do what I do and err on the side of caution. Just keep on the other path.
Oh.
it is more rewarding to have a kind of a off-brand or a new thing or a new whatever and have it be received well versus just, yeah, I knew they were gonna kind of like this, but if they love this because I tried something new, that's a lot more fulfilling. But again, it's the flip side. If they hate it, it's like, that sucks even more. I could have just done a basic thing and they would have been okay with it.
Yeah.
It's art. It's a creative industry, baby. It's all a bunch of variables, a bunch of ping pong balls and a lottery.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's called. But with that kind of concludes our season 10 premiere. We can't control if you guys like this podcast.
All we can do is get it out there on all the formats.
And tell you, please like, subscribe, and follow. We're on every platform that hosts a podcast, Spotify, Apple, or we have video versions on Spotify. We also do just kind of a YouTube channel that has the video and audio version, obviously, as well. So if you haven't checked out our podcast before, if you're a new-time listener, go back, look through our first 9 seasons. We have some cool interviews with some really cool people. We also just have a variety of topics that we've covered through our 90 or so episodes that we've created so far. So with that, thank you, as always, for listening, and we'll see you guys in a couple weeks.